But we are going to talk about the elephant in the room, which is red-green dinos. That's going to be the first deck we do tonight. Let's get into it, huh? Let's get into it. A lot of people pretty much know how this deck works. To me, it's like the ultimate mid-range deck. It's kind of meta-defining mid-range. So you either need to find a deck that can beat it faster or a deck that can beat it slower, because you're not really going to find a better mid-range deck than Dinos. Naya Dinos might be better. I don't know. I don't really believe that any kind of mid-range or aggro deck is going to be that strong once you go 3 colors. I don't think the mana fixing is good enough in Ixalan Constructed. So I think if you're going aggro or mid-range, probably 2 colors is the way to go. If you're going some kind of control deck, then 3 colors is not so bad. And with all the treasure and stuff, three colors can maybe mean 4 colors, or you could probably even try 5 colors. As you'll see in some of the deck techs I'm going to do later, we stretch it to 3 or 4 colors, but basically only for like 1 spell, and we cast it off Pirates or maybe an Unknown Shores. Right, so the first deck tech we're going to do is red-green dinosaurs. The second deck tech we're going to do is Grixis Control. The third deck tech we're going to do is Jeskai Control. And the last deck tech hopefully will be blue-white Control. That's a troll with a T-R-O-L-L. I had to give a shout out to my arch nemesis, Dion Peon, who I stole this deck from, basically. I've made it my own. I don't know exactly what he was running, but he was running it first, and he totally trolled me. And now we'll share the troll so that you guys can all troll each other. But first, red-green dinos. Here we go. Boom. So we're going to build all this in Mana Stack. It's a pretty sweet site. I don't know. There's a lot of deck building sites. And I think the coolest way to do this is just build it from the ground up, which might mean that I overstate a few things and then have to cut them back. But right now we are doing red-green dinos. Let me put a little info box up here so that everyone knows what deck we're involved in. Ew, not an image file, I want a text file. Text me, please. Hey, RNOCL, that is fantastic. Why don't you see what I do and let's talk about it. Just Ixalan Constructed. No standard. Because Ixalan Constructed is the format I'm interested in now. I don't know, man. Ixalan's been around for a while. The standard decks are pretty well known. Where is that thing? Let's put it right here. And we'll give it a background. Should be good. I really don't like the size of that box, but whatever, it'll have to do. All right, on to Mana Tech. Red-green dinos sets Ixalan. Tanto Vanguard, you are not in red-green dinos. So let's talk about the best of the best. That's how I like to start. And then work our way down from there as opposed to going by casting cost or something. Now this is kind of a tough call, but I like to start with good old Ripjaw. This card's a beast. 5 toughness is amazing. Drawing a card is amazing. Pretty much stops anything on the ground from attacking. Unless they can swing for the win. I think you got to play 4. And of course, the other guy, Carnage Tyrant. This card's good. It's possible in this deck to play a turn 3 Ripjaw Raptor or a turn 4 Carnage Tyrant. Turn 4 Hasty Carnage Tyrant. And a turn 3 Hasty Ripjaw. Sadly, you can't do both. So, in my opinion, I'd rather cast a turn 4 Carnage Tyrant. Definitely if I'm on the play. If I'm on the draw, maybe I'd prefer the turn 3 Ripjaw Raptor. But a Hasty Carnage Tyrant on turn 4 on the play is stupid good. And almost impossible to beat. Almost all control decks will fold to a Carnage Tyrant. The reason we're doing 2 deck techs for control decks that involve white is because they've settled the wreckage, which is about the only way to deal with Carnage Tyrant. Seriously, it's like the only way. There's no Oath of Liliana. There's no Fleshbag Marauder. There's no way to sacrifice a creature. The only way is to be able to exile it in some Mass Effect. Star of Extinction will work too. And I do play that in a few of my decks. But that is just about it, folks. It is really hard to touch this thing. All right. So how do we cast these guys? Turn 3 and turn 4. I think you're pretty aware of these guys. I kind of like the balls to the wall version of this deck, which is going for the turn 3 Raptor and the turn 4 Carnage Tyrant. So I like to play 8 Rampers, which means 4 Drovers and 4 Huntsmasters. And in fact, lots of times I think Huntsmaster is just a better turn 2 play because of the fact that it ramps, doesn't tap, and, well, and it can give haste. When it gives haste, it taps, but you know. All right. The 3 drops I'm still having issues with in the curve. Sure Strike is good. That's a good point. That's if you have creatures. That's the problem with control is you don't have any creatures. So there's no one to put Sure Strike on. But that is also a very good way. All right, well, let's talk about removal. Let's get on to removal. I think Stomp is good, but I think this card is better. Lightning Strike is very good against annoying pirates. And by annoying pirates, I mean the deck that's my favorite to play. Cardboard Nomad, I think you followed me like during a VOD or on an off stream, so thanks a lot, man. Yeah! I appreciate it. I think Lightning Strike is more important than Savage Stomp here. So I go with 4 of those. A Braid is probably better, but in Ixalan Constructed, we don't have access to a Braid. And we also don't play God Pharaoh's Gift. Once again, this is Ixalan Constructed only. So this would be either for a game like MtG Arena, or like if you play a bunch of Sealed, maybe you can use some of these archetypes, even though they're pretty well known. Or if you play with your friends, or you play at your local card shop. Yeah. No problems, Armo. Yeah, I know. That's, you know, I put it in the title, but it's really hard because if you're not in the world where you're only playing Ixalan Constructed, it's very easy to just start throwing in Fatal Push. This format is super fast and super strong, and because of a card like Fatal Push doesn't exist. Because if Fatal Push existed, I think this format would slow down quite a bit. But we don't have that. So the other one is Savage Stomp. And I had to make some tough cuts when building this deck, so I'm going to start. I think I only play 2. We'll throw 3 in and see how we do when we're finished curving out. As I said, this format is very fast, and dinosaur decks are actually kind of slow. Like a turn 3 Ripjaw Raptor is very good, but it's your only menacing thing you've done all game, and it's on turn 3. And even then, you need like all the stars to align it to do it. So, and there's a lot of nasty little flyer decks. So even if you get the Ripjaw Raptor out, they might just ignore it. But Savage Stomp is great against the Dinosaur Mirror. So this is a card you would definitely think about putting in the sideboard. Because if you Savage Stomp their Ripjaw Raptor with your Ripjaw Raptor, you're in business. And that's like one of the best plays you can do against Dinos. Here's a card I'll give a shout out to, though I don't think I can main deck it anymore. It's Fiery Cannonade. It just depends what you're seeing. If you are seeing a bunch of Vamps and Merfolk deck, then I would play 2 of these in the main deck. But it doesn't work against Pirates. It's pretty sweet when you hit your own Ripjaw Raptor with a Fiery Cannonade and get a free card off of it. It's also instant speed, which is tremendous. But I think you got to leave it in the sideboard unless you really know you're up against a bunch of Vamps or Merfolk, which I don't think are the strongest. I would say Pirates and Dinos would be stronger. You know, I played a deck like that, Cardboard Nomad. I played kind of a more enragey deck. I played Ripjaw Raptors, Ranging Raptors, and I played some Raging Swordtooths to proc him when he came into play, and then you could have some pretty strong plays. But I don't think Ranging Raptor makes the cut. I do think it's a decent filler card, if that's what you got. And maybe if you're trying to do some Star of Extinction shenanigans, though I assume that hurts you just as much as it hurts them generally. But as far as 3-drops go, I don't think it makes the cut. Speaking of 3-drops, here's one. Rampaging Ferostodon. This is really nice against Pirates and Vamps and even Merfolk, especially if they're using Deep Root Waters. The 1 damage every time a creature comes in can really do some good things. Speaking of which, that's another reason why I like Lightning Strike over something like a Braid, for example, though we don't play that card, is that you can go face with it to push through that little extra damage. But this guy, I want to say is an easy 4. But when I was making this deck earlier, I had to make some cuts, so I think I might have gone down to 3. And the other 3-drop I really like is Deathgorge Scavenger. This is pretty sweet against Azcanta decks. Mostly just Azcanta decks. But it's also sweet in the Dinosaur Mirror because you can gain that 2 extra life, and sometimes 2 extra life is a whole extra turn. But when I was making cuts earlier, I had to cut somewhere, and so I ended up only playing 2 of these. But I like both these 3-drops better than Ranging Raptor. Now, if you don't have all these cards, I think Ranging Raptor is probably the 3rd best 3-drop you could play. The problem with the Enrage, Ranging Raptors, Ripjaw Raptor kind of game plan is the Enrage cards are just not strong enough yet. Perhaps when Rise of Ixalan comes out, there'll be some more Enrage creatures that you can get a lot of profit off of that. But right now, the only two ones that are really worth playing are Ripjaw Raptor and Ranging Raptor. There's like that other guy that gives you 2 life and Sailback, which is kind of meh. I'll throw that in the shout out sideboard. Flash is fun. And maybe sweet against mirror matches. Just seems like a sweet sideboard card. Like there's lots of times where maybe you'd rather be playing something flash and surprising them. But I don't think it makes the cut in the main deck if you have all these other cards. As I said, this deck is actually kind of slow in the format. One reason is we're only running 4 1-drops. Commune with dinosaurs. If you're playing dinosaurs and they're green, I don't see how you don't play this card. Like you always want to play this turn 1. Always. There's no reason you wouldn't want to play this card turn 1. It's also nice because it helps you like avoid mulligans a bit more. I like those cards a lot, especially in best of 1 formats or non-sideboard formats. Being able to keep a little worse hand can really improve your win ratio than having to mull. And this card's just good. Top 5 cards, dino or land. You normally need one or the other. Even late game. It's great. You get to search for 5 deep for a Carnage Tyrant or a Lightning Strike. Well, you can't get Lightning Strike. Carnage Tyrant, I guess. All right, we're filling up pretty good here. What am I missing? Not too much. How many cards we got here? 33. Let's put in the land. So we're playing red-green, so we definitely want the full complement of Rootbound Crags. And then I like Unclaimed Territory a lot in general, but it's fine here too. Any deck where you're not too spell heavy, I think Unclaimed Territory is great as long as you have some kind of tribal theme. And any 2-color deck, I like to run 1 Field of Ruin. Unless I played a bunch of games that it's not working. But I think 1 Field of Ruin is really nice. As you'll see when we do these control deck techs later, I use a lot of legendary lands. And I guess let's get specific. I use the Primal whatever from the Primal Amulet. I use the Thematic Compass flip, whatever that is. And I use Search for Azcana. Oh, I use Search for Azcana. And I use Vance's Blasting Cannon. And sometimes I use all 4 in one deck. So a Field of Ruin is really nice for that. And if you're playing 2 colors, I think you can get away with it. When you're playing 3 colors, yeah, I don't know if you can get away with it. Might even be worth putting 2 in. Might even be worth putting some in your sideboard. If you're playing a deck like that, it might be nice to bring in an extra Field of Ruin. All right, so that gives us, what, 9 lands? And we're looking to play 24. So it's 15. And I think our distribution is pretty heavy green. So I think I go... How many? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 forests and 6 mountains. That brings us to 57. What am I missing? What am I missing here? Oh, Reggie. This card's decent, especially if someone's playing all spot removal. You don't really have any 5-drops anyway. I think you fill out the deck with 3 of those. You can easily play 4 if you're short on Carnage Tyrants, but it's a pretty strong card. Gives everything haste like Carnage Tyrants. And that's it, folks. red-green dinos. This is probably one of the most aggressive forms of this deck you could play. You could play an extra Savage Stomp. You could play Burning Sun's Avatar. I like this card a lot, and I think this is a very good replacement for Carnage Tyrants if you don't have them, can't afford them, whatever. But I don't think they're better than Carnage Tyrants. I think rarely are they better than a Carnage Tyrant. And the cost is expensive, but it's not really prohibitive, at least in this 2-color deck. But I like this card a lot. He deserves some love. We're not really going to talk about green-white dinos or red-white dinos or mono-red dinos. I kind of talked about those before in the red-white aggro deck. But I think those are all also good dinos. It's just red-green. Everybody knows red-green. It's the most popular deck in the format. And this is it. This is how I would run it if I were running it. But you know me, I run Pirates. And lately a bunch of janky control. What do you guys think? Are there any more shout-outs we should give here? Other cards that might be decent in here? I don't like Raptor Hatchling. Oh, this guy deserves a shout-out for sure. And some people might think he's better than some other things. It's Charging Monstersaur. This is a good dino. You see him a lot of places. Definitely can fill up your deck if you're missing some of these cards. He's nasty. Tillinolly's Knight. It's okay. But I think in my dino deck, I want just dinos. If I'm doing like a red-green aggro, things could be different. Though I think I prefer red-white aggro to red-green aggro. If I'm really going face. Assume this is who you're... I have no idea how to spell that. Knight. Tillinolly's. I kind of spelled it right. I don't know. 2-drops are sweet. The thing is you just have no 1-drops in this deck, which makes it slower than a lot of the other decks. But at the same time, if you drop the Ripjaw Raptor turn 3, it's slowing down almost any aggro deck to a halt. Unless it's a favorable winds or flyer deck. I really like Imperial Lancer. Yeah, I'm not really going to talk about Naya dinos. I don't think they're more powerful. Once again, I think it's just mostly because of the mana base. But for Naya dinos, I basically find a way to sneak in the Sunwing and probably do a full play set of those. And then a little bit of Gishath. This card's super good. Thalia with wings. It's also super good against the mirror match. You can clog up the floor and just have your Ripjaw Raptor facing down like 3 or 4 guys, and then your Sunwing just keeps flying over and pecking at him. Gishath. I mean, all these guys are perhaps splashable if you want to play 4 Evolving Wilds. Once again, you only have the 4 1-drops, so Evolving Wilds doesn't slow you down that much. This card's pretty decent. It's a bomb for sure. And I guess if we're splashing, the other things I'd consider splashing for is Vraska, because you have the Drovers. This card's a bomb. And Hoatle. What? Either one probably is fine. They're both red-white though, so I think they have a better place in red-white or Naya than they do in just a full red-green splash. Thaliosaur. Exactly. So that's it, guys. Red, green dinos.